How is it going, Data Bites? No Data here, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Roblox Assassin. And here we are once again on the Halloween event for Assassin. Guys, we've already done so much in this event, it is absolutely insane. So last time we got the brand new exotic in competitive mode, the Wicked Polearm. Honestly, one of my most favorite exotics in this event. Probably not my favorite general knife in the event, but definitely one of my most favorite exotics. But in today's video, we are going to be getting yet another brand new mythic knife for our inventory. Guys, there are so many Halloween mythics in this event, it is insane. But today we are going to be crafting yet another Halloween mythic, and this one is going to be from crafting. So if we take a look at the crafting, you will see a brand new mythic knife right here, the Mortician. So yeah, guys, this looks like a pretty cool mythic. So in this video, we are going to go ahead and craft the mythic. We're going to go over how you can craft it, what you need in order to craft it, and of course we'll talk about the overall value of this knife and whether or not it's actually worth crafting. So if you guys are excited for this episode of Assassin, then be sure to drop a like on this video because it helps out a whole lot. And as always, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more Assassin videos in the future. And if you really want to support me, you can use star code purple when buying Roblox and Roblox Premium. Roblox pays me when you use my star code, so it really helps me out to continue making these videos for you guys. Alright guys, and before we actually craft the knife, let's go ahead and go over what you actually need. So one of the exotics that you need is the Skull Spear exotic, and if you don't know, you can go ahead and get the Skull Spear in the skeleton case right here. And although this is a pretty expensive case, I would say in general, it's not too hard to get this exotic. You're probably going to have to open it quite a few times, but overall, not really too difficult to get. As you guys know, the skeleton case gives you a 16% chance to get an exotic, so overall, really not that difficult. You know, 16%, really not that hard. For comparison, if we take a look at a normal case, you will see that the chances of a legendary are 10%, and you know, you get a legendary in these cases every now and then, and this exotic chance is a 16%, so you're more likely to get an exotic from this case than you are to get a legendary from a numbered case, which isn't super uncommon, so really not that bad. But you are gonna have to put a little bit of work to get the Skull Spear. Another thing that you need is the Void Vision legendary knife. Here it is right here, and once again, you can get this legendary from the skeleton case, and I think you can only get this from the skeleton case. The infected case does have some legendaries, but not the one that you need. You'll see that there is a third legendary in the skeleton case, and that is the Void Vision. Again, probably not too hard to get the Void Vision if you open enough skeleton cases. It's a 34% chance to get a legendary, so really not too bad. But then we move on to some of the harder knives. In order to craft the Mortician, you're also going to need the Spectre and the Gravedigger, which, in case you guys don't remember from a really long time ago, you actually get those knives from the Battle Pass. Tier 8 gives you the Gravedigger, and Tier 10, the end of the Battle Pass, gives you the Spectre Mythic. So yeah, in order to get these knives, you're just gonna have to get a lot of XP and go through this Battle Pass and just get everything that there is to offer. So you should get there eventually after a bit of grinding. However, guys, do keep in mind that because it's a Battle Pass, you only get one of these per account. So I'd say it's really not too hard to get the Gravedigger and the Spectre, but if you want to keep these knives, but you also want to craft the Mortician, then, well, you're gonna have to trade for these two items because you can only get one of each per account. So if you want to have all the knives in this event, then you're gonna have to trade for those knives in the Battle Pass. Whereas the Skull Spear and the Void Vision, you can obviously unbox multiple with enough effort. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that you need in order to craft this knife. So let's go ahead and put everything together. We're gonna start with the Void Vision legendary. Then we're gonna go ahead and put in the Skull Spear exotic as well as the Gravedigger exotic. And last but not least, we gotta scroll up through the mythics and put in the Spectre mythic from the Battle Pass. And there we go, guys. We can go ahead and craft the brand new Mortician mythic. This is going to be super duper hype. So without further ado, let's go ahead and craft this mythic knife. 3, 2, 1, and boom. There we go, guys. We just crafted the Mortician mythic. And again, I died. I don't know why I die whenever I craft things. So yeah, guys, let's go ahead and claim this knife and let's go ahead and equip it. There it is right there on my side. Let's go ahead and try this thing out. And here it is, guys, the Mortician mythic that you can get by crafting Spectre, Gravedigger, Skull Spear, and Void Vision. And like always, this is a limited time craft crafting for the Halloween event. And as you can see, this is a really cool Halloween sword. You can see that it is super dark and edgy. It is mostly black and dark blue and dark green. You can see that in the middle of the sword, we have some blue gems. You can see some spikes in the middle of the sword if you look really carefully. You can see at the hilt of the sword, we actually have a skull. There's some horns on the skull as well, which is pretty cool. And you can also see at the bottom of the skull, there is a spiral, which is pretty interesting. It feels like the spiral almost replaces the mouth of the skull. I don't know if that's intentional, but it sort of looks like that, which is really interesting. And also, guys, as you can see, this knife does have an effect of its own. If you look closely, you can see some green clouds around the knife. It does look similar to the effect that the Spectre has, but not quite. If you look closely, you can see that the clouds sort of go in a swirl pattern. So you can see that the swirls go on around the knife, and then it sort of stops near the skull. But then once we actually get to the spiral that is on the skull, you can see that the effect sort of comes back, and you can see that the spiral effect is on the spiral that's on the knife, which is really interesting, which is obviously, you know, a really nice touch to detail because there's a spiral here. So obviously the effect is going to be on that spiral as well. And you can also see some green dots appearing and disappearing around the knife. If you look really closely, you can see some dots appearing and disappearing. So yeah, here is what the knife looks like in first person, and overall it looks really freaking cool, to be honest. This is a really dark and edgy knife, so it's really fitting for Halloween. I definitely like the effect on the knife. I like the spirals that go around the knife. And overall, this does feel like something that you would get when you craft all these knives together. Like, we have the green effect, which reminds me of the Spectre. I feel like the sword itself really reminds you of the Skull Spear, you know, with the skull on the hilt and just the colors on here really reminds you of the Skull Spear. So it feels believable that you would craft these knives together and get the Mortician. And of course, guys, with this knife, we are one step closer to crafting the Banisher Dream Knife, which we are definitely going to do in the future, so look forward to that. Unfortunately, this knife does not have its own death effect, which is kind of a shame. We do have some knives in this event with their own death effects, like the Hex Potion, for example, but it is what it is. It's still a pretty cool knife. Now, of course, you guys are probably wondering, what is this knife going to be worth, and more importantly, is this knife worth crafting? Now, at the time of this recording, the Mortician Mythic is currently worth 10 exotics. That's a pretty good Mythic knife. Of course, it can go down as more and more people craft it, but of course, once this event ends, the Mortician's going to be unobtainable. You won't be able to craft it anymore, and then it'll start going up in value after that. But I'd say 10 exotics for this Mythic is a pretty good start. But of course, the question remains, is this knife actually worth crafting? Should you craft this knife, or should you just keep the ingredients? Because as you guys know, sometimes, especially with these events, sometimes it's not actually worth it to craft the knife. You might actually just get more value if you keep the ingredients. I'd say the most prime example is the Hearth Mythic. And to tell you the truth, we don't really know. We're not quite sure if this knife is going to be worth crafting in the long run. It's really hard to tell this early on into the event. We'd have to wait quite a while. But of course, we can make some predictions. And in the meantime, we can go ahead and count up the exotics and determine whether or not this knife is worth crafting right now. Whether or not it's going to be worth crafting in the long run, we're not sure just yet, but for now, let's see if it's worth crafting. So let's go ahead and add everything up. Firstly, you need the Spectre Mythic, and the Spectre is currently worth 5 exotics, so that's 5 exotics right there. Up next, you need the Skull Spear, which is also worth 5 exotics, so we're already at 10 total. Not a good sign. You also need the Gravedigger, which is worth 3 exotics, so we add that in. That's 13 exotics. And you also need the Void Vision Legendary, which is currently worth 3 legendaries. As you guys know, you need 6 legendaries to craft an exotic, so we'll go ahead and round this to half an exotic. So at the time of this recording, these ingredients put together are worth 13.5 exotics. And the Mortician is only worth 10. So at the time of this recording, no, it is not worth crafting the Mortician. You are losing some exotics. Now again, that can change. This could end up being worth more in the long run as values change once the event ends. But again, it's kind of hard to tell. It really depends on how many people craft this knife and how many people end up keeping this knife, or if they're just going to craft the Banisher instead. When it comes to the Hearth and the Northern Star, I feel like the Hearth ended up being worth more because a lot of people were hesitant to use crafting in the first place. A lot of people were just hesitant to craft away their exotics. So a lot of people did not craft the hearth, and those that did ended up just crafting the Northern Star. Because I feel like people deciding, you know, they're either just going to craft all the way up to Northern Star, or they're just not going to craft at all. I feel like there were very few people who crafted hearth and decided to just stop there. So I feel like that could be a factor as to why hearth ended up being more valuable. Is the Mortician going to end up in the same spot? It can. We don't know. At the end of the day, it really just depends on what people do, what the community as a whole just decides to do with their knives. If a majority of the people end up crafting this knife, then it's not going to be super valuable. But if a lot of people don't craft the Mortician, it could end up being pretty valuable in the future. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Also, guys, let's go ahead and end off this video with a skeleton case, because why the heck not? You know, it's been a while since we've opened up a skeleton case. Let's go ahead and see what we get. All right, we've passed the mythic. Is it going to come back around? No, it is not. We're going to get a rare this time around. Honestly, like most episodes, we've been getting Spider Sickle, so I can't really complain that much. You know, it makes sense that we get a rare eventually. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much it for this video. That is the brand new Mortician Mythic. And guys, we are almost done with this Halloween event, but there's one more knife for us to get. In the next episode of Assassin, we are going to be crafting the brand new Halloween Dream Knife, the Banisher right here. Right off the bat, this knife looks amazing. And that's pretty much going to be the finale of this event. So stay tuned, because that's going to be a super hype crafting. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Roblox Assassin. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all those other things that YouTube people do. And now we'll see you guys in the next video. Stay purple.